Hello everyone, how you doing today? This is Coach Rod from Marriage Evolves, and I got my brother here, Coach Paul. Coach Paul, what do you do?
Kick Your Butt Out. That's my podcast. And my podcast is designed to get rid of the butt that stops us from doing anything that we're capable of doing.
That sounds good. That sounds good. So why are we here today? What are we talking about? And I know folks probably wondering why he wearing Bears, he wearing Saints. What y'all about to talk about? Some football? What's going on?
Well, today's podcast is to discuss some of the things that bring us together rather than the things that are different with us. As you see, we both got on different jerseys. However, we're both on the same team in many ways.
Now, somebody would probably have a little problem with that. You know, we both in the NFC, but they say the Saints and Bears, they're rivals. How they on the same team? And I like that you brought that out because even though we can have our individuality and support our own, Chicago, New Orleans, we learn, especially in Christ, we learn to be on the same team, unified in mind and spirit.
Yes, definitely. I appreciate the fact that we are on the same team from the most important aspect or the most important part of our lives. Because one of the things that I've learned is that we are supposed to be teammates. We are supposed to have other people around us. However, lots of times in lots of situations, we allow ourselves to be separated for whatever differences and not the similarities.
That's wonderful. And I like it too because coming from the marriage standpoint, it is the core of being a husband and wife. You got to be a team in order to make it work.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you don't have that mindset down, you're going to constantly have friction. Communication comes and starts with the chemistry of being a team.
Yes.
Especially in marriage.
Yes.
Well, I tell you what, this is going to be a good conversation. We're going to have some good friends of ours coming through. You're going to see different jerseys from different teams, and we're going to have what we call same team conversation today.
Yes. And we're going to have different nationalities, different colors, different races. However, same team.
Yes.
Right.
So, gentlemen, we're so glad y'all had the opportunity to join us today. As we talked about earlier, this is a time that we're going to just talk, share, ask some good questions. My brother Paul here. Y'all know Paul. Y'all know he feel for him right now because he's wearing Chicago stuff. But Coach Paul here had the brains on having us all wear these different jerseys to show our individuality. Because we all are as different as our skin colors and our way we think and the way we operate. But yet at the same time, we're all one team.
Yes, sir.
And so in that, we're going to ask some questions. We're going to be going into some dialogue. And I'll bring it from the marital aspect on how as husbands, how we can be a team with our spouses. Okay? So, Coach Paul.
Thank you so much, Coach Rod. And I appreciate y'all, brothers, again, for supporting us and joining in because many years for me, I knew that I needed other men in my life that was positive, that was doing something, going somewhere. However, I let the word but step in and allow me to look at the differences and separate myself. And the result is I stayed isolated. I didn't learn nothing. I stayed a mess and all of those kind of things. And when I allowed that butt to get kicked out of my way and open myself up, look what I got, a bunch of brothers. Again, as he was saying, we got a bunch of differences. However, we allow the similarities to bring us together. And so I appreciate, everybody joining in on this with us.
Yeah. Same team, right?
Same team. Definitely. So, with that being said.
So, first question out the gate. What is the purpose of the concept of team? And why do we want to be on a team?
Wow, that's a good question. I think for me, that started from the beginning. When God created Adam, he said that man must not be alone. So what that said for me was that although he created us with a certain level of independence, we also have a certain level of interdependence. And man is so privy to being independent and staying isolated and staying in that oneness, we're not growing. We talked about it before, how at our church, the pastor had the small group with men and you can fill up 4 or 5 tables. And then you go to the wife's small group and she got the whole experience room filled. They had to close the doors. Yeah. And so that right there was an inspiration for me to talk about, how can we get men to learn how to come together and be on the same team? So that's the inspiration behind this.
Okay.
Go ahead, Brent.
I think a sense of belonging. Let's just be real about it. Like, why do you think people get into gangs?
Yeah.
Why do you think people roll out with their crew? It's because they want a sense of belonging. They want all to have similar wants, similar desires, and because of that, they get together with a whole bunch of other people to do the same thing. You know what I mean? If I'm going in a direction, I'll tell you right now, like I could try running on my own, but if I try running on my own, I'll only get so far. If I run with somebody else, I know that person's gonna push me further than my limits, but I mean, I know that just because I ran with other people, they'll push me past my limits and be able to do things even better. So whatever it is, like whatever you're doing or trying to accomplish or even doing, like even fasting. Like fasting on my own, yeah, I'll probably get 2 or 3 days, but when you guys said, hey, let's fast together, man, we'll go a week and then keep on encouraging each other throughout the week. And so I think part of that being on a team is belonging. So yeah.
It's almost, it kind of reminds me of that, ain't that the relay race where one person will have the baton and they'll run so far and then they'll hand it to the next person and then the next person and the next person and everybody wins. That's what this is kind of like.
And if you think it, since you brought that up, the concept, I know we just look at it as one person hand the baton to the next, but each person in that relay is positioned based off their strength.
Come on.
That last person is called the anchor person because they're the fastest person on that team, not the first person. They're the fastest. So wherever they are in that race, they can bring up that gap if they need to.
Wow, I like that. And that's what we do for one another.
Yeah,
exactly. That's what we do.
Everybody has a role in the team. We have different strengths.
And if I can speak to that, that's exactly where I was thinking. Growing up playing baseball, your lineup is set up a certain way. Usually you have your fastest guy that starts, right? He's leading off. Then you kind of have your consistent hitters. Then you have your cleanup hitter who's gonna, clean those bases up. So everyone has their own gift, and you bring your own gift. And teams that win championships, they know the culture of their team. They know the mindset of their guys. They know the gifts of everybody and where they're the best at. And it kind of, you don't have to be a 10 in every area, right? And somebody else's 10 might be my 5 and vice versa. So once you figure that out, and I think that's what we bring, a lot in our group is, some people are prayer warriors and other people are just good listeners. And you know what I mean? And it's okay because you all bring something to the table. So that's kind of what I attribute it to.
That's a good point you bring up because once we realize and understand that we all bring something to the table and knowing where your strengths lie, where somebody else's strengths lie, we know that, hey, I can go ahead and work in my strength and know that where I'm not as strong at, this brother can pick that area up, because we complement. And you said another key word was that culture, establish and maintain that culture. You had something you wanted to throw in there?
Well, I was going to say, and exactly what you touched on. I mean, exactly. We all leverage each other's strengths. We play off of each other. We hold each other accountable when someone's getting off their path. And you kind of grow from that. Not only that, but with different cultures and backgrounds. I mean, you learn a lot from every different person because your life, your trials, maybe I don't understand, I haven't been through, but I can learn from that. And you can share your own to help each other grow. And it's just kind of a great way to expand on the knowledge and understanding of everyone that's here. I mean, we've all had different walks in life, different family upbringings, different ways that we've been through, and it's just another way to help each other grow. So, I mean, having one team from different backgrounds is just another way to be that much more solid and grounded.
I wholeheartedly agree. Wholeheartedly.
So I got another question I want to throw out there to you, everybody. What is your greatest reservation or fear about being a team?
Wow, that's a good question.
That is, I think the first thing, sorry, I'm going to touch on that. The first thing I think for anybody is fear of rejection. So, I mean, you have to be vulnerable enough to open up to people that you have to let people in order and risk being judged or to be, looked at in any certain way. Because it takes understanding too for people to be able to understand where you're coming from and not pass judgment. So I think that for me is one thing, opening up and trust.
Woo! Now you just said something, Chris. You just open it up because I'm gonna because I'm gonna be the advocate for the marriage side, right? You just said something, being open and trusting, being transparent and trusting. So even though we're talking about team and men, building men, as husbands, and all of us here are husbands, we're all married, how do we keep that openness and trust, working through that fear or that reservations of being a team with our spouse? How do we do that? What does that look like?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll speak to that. I guess embracing the differences. That's been a huge one with me and Amber is understanding kind of the same aspect. Like she grew up differently, I grew up differently. A lot of times your opposites attract, right? At first, and then later on, like Pastor Sean says, you attack, they attack. But when you can get to a place where I don't have to, how do I put this? I don't have to like really understand the way she does stuff because it works for her, right? And it's not affecting me in any way. I don't need to change her. I just have to embrace the difference that she brings to our marriage. And therefore, that's that teamwork. And she's definitely helped me out in many ways. Things that, a lot of men, let's be real, we struggle with control issues, right? You want to control, you want to change, you want to fix.
Oh.
And
I'm just kidding.
but because of that, there's an attitude about you that comes very, dictatorship and controlling, and that's one thing that'll shut down that communication. So I've been there, we've been there.
So you want to be the star in your team.
And a lot of times you do, and you want things, no, this is the way I do it, so this is the best way, this is the best way. But when it comes to marriage, the way you see things, one, be a good listener, right? But try to understand what it looks like behind their lens, right? And then try to understand how can we both, because we're a team, and we have one goal and one vision, one outcome that we both agree on. Instead of fighting in the middle, how can we both do that? So
I appreciate you saying what you just said, because one of the things, and the reasons why there was a challenge for me for many years is because of what I was taught, right? In terms of relationships with women and with men. I was taught, when you go into a room with men, you put your back to the wall, and you don't trust nobody. You don't allow no man in, because if you allow a man in, that shows a sign of weakness to you as a man. That was the culture that I was raised in, and I carried that on into my relationships with women as well. And so in those relationships, I had to stand out as the dominant person in the room, whether it was in the circle of men or whether it was in a relationship with my significant other and my children, and not understanding that people have differences.
Yeah.
People different from me. So so just because my wife or this other guy or my children or whoever didn't do that thing the way that I do it, didn't say that thing the way that I say it, didn't understand that thing the way that I understood it, that doesn't make them wrong. That doesn't make them weak. That makes them who they are. And you were talking about, I had to have that acceptance. I had to have that acceptance that just because you're different from me, that doesn't make you wrong. And that's what opened me up to being vulnerable and able to allow somebody else in, whether it's my wife or whether it was other men.
And just on the bigger picture of that, just like a team, just like us men, is we have to be okay with, I don't have to be the best every single thing, right? Yeah. Like I don't have to, and there's a pressure, there's a sense of like relief when it comes to that, especially around you men. Like I don't need to be 100% or a 10 in every single area, or else they're gonna see me as no.
I like that you brought that up. Let's hit Reggie up, because I saw you, Reggie. Yeah. But I want to jump back on what you said on that piece.
And actually, I was going to touch upon that because going back to your original question, what is your fear, right? Yeah. My fear is failure. My fear is like if I'm going to be on a team that's not doing my part. Like I'm looking through all these preseason YouTubes and stuff, and who's making the team or who's making the cut. And I'll tell you, I'm one of the one of the people in this group that's probably, except Chris, I think we got married around the same time. So we've been married for 3 years. So, and this is my second marriage, divorced the first time. And coming around this time, I'm like, you know what? My fear is failing. You know what I mean? Not being able to go into another relationship and then, hey, I'm gonna fail this one again. So one, I'm trying to play a part here, but also two, just to piggyback on what you guys both said. It's like, you know what? This time around though, I'm trying to be open and teachable. You know what I mean? Because this is the thing, is that in going back to like kind of parallel it with all these different people coming from different teams, right? They came from all these collegiate teams, now they're coming over here. They're learning a different system. Before, I learned a system that was called single Reggie. Now I'm trying to learn how to learn this different system, which is called married Reggie, right? And so as I'm trying to do this, the things that I used to do, I may not be able to do because I'm not single no more. And I can't think of the same way that I was doing things. I can't think that because now we're a team. Now it's team play, not this individual play. And so part of that is trying to see how different people work, you know what I mean? As far as like, what is it that you do differently? Like me, I slam things. I'm like loud, I slam things. And my wife, she'll be like, oh my gosh, like what's happening here? You know what I mean? Because it's those types of things, they bother her. And so it's just kind of calibration. That's how I look at it. We're constantly calibrating with each other because we're trying to get it right. And I think that's the biggest part about being on a team is there's all these nuances that you're having to deal with. And so you're kind of having to see what's the different like playbook or whatever. What is it, the different style that you guys work with? And that's what it is as far as it is in our household. Is it's no longer Team Reggie, it's Team Olivar. So
There it is.
Two words I just want to throw in, and sorry, Marvin, cut on that. Hearing everything and thinking again, only been married for 3 years. There's two words that really have helped me to, you know, get through these years and also building is communication and compromise. And those are the two things that have helped us and our marriage.
Yeah, for me, like when you speak of fear, well, it's all growth, you know. Just like when we all met in that small group and came together, you know, the fear was there because I don't know anybody. We all got to meet each other and get to know each other. So we got to grow as brothers and at the same time growing our marriages, you know what I mean? So it's always learning and growing, you know, and we're going to make mistakes and we're going to do some things right. But for the most part, it's my fear is making sure I'm growing in the right direction. You know what I mean? And that's what I want.
Wow. Man, there's so many different things that y'all just threw out there to unpack. But I want to highlight a couple of portions. And I'm glad you said that, Marvin, about the growing portion, dealing with that fear, the apprehension in that. Reggie, you talked about how it's having that team concept. And in that, from the marriage standpoint, but even also from the men's standpoint, when we first meet, a lot of times, men, we're guarded. You talked about that because of whatever examples that we had or didn't have coming up. You know, we're guarded. You know, we're not open. You know, I gotta check this person out. You know, I'm not gonna say too much. Can I feel them out? Can I trust them? Once we learn to be open, you know, and have communication, then we learn to be in that capacity, in that space, to where that fear is no longer a fear, and if I can trust them a little bit, I can share. You know, but going back to the one thing that you talked about, there was someone I will never forget. He said, in marriage, in a relationship, even as men, because we do this all the time with each other, where we reach out to each other, hey man, I'm not feeling my best today, can y'all pray for me? You know, we do that together. In a marriage, a lot of times, you might not be feeling your 100. And you got to let your wife know. Share with them, hey, you know what, I can give you 20% today. Can you pull in the other 80? Or and let them be honest with you. Say, no, I can give you about maybe 40. Okay, so we're gonna put that strength energy together, and we're gonna accomplish what we can accomplish. You know, we do it all the time with each other. We gotta constantly keep that team concept in everything that we do, especially with our spouses.
And I think I love this conversation, man. It's so powerful Because one of the things that Reggie said, you want to get it right. One of the ways that I learned in my life in dealing with men is that the right thing today may not be the right thing tomorrow.
Yep.
And the next day and the next day. We have to, I learned that I had to open myself up and kick that butt out, right? To allow myself to learn what the next right was going to be for the next day and be able to embrace that because again, I had a serious problem with connecting with men. Because I didn't know how to relate to men in a healthy way and in a healthy manner. So I'm still pretty much learning. You all talked about being married for 3 years. I've been kicking that butt in terms of being able to connect with men out of my life for about 3 years. You know what I mean? I've been doing that for about 3 years. And it's been a growth process. Yeah. I've been growing as a result of it. I learned that I don't have to carry everything. I got some brothers that I can that say, hey man, I'm gonna carry this with you. How can I support you? How can we carry this together, or how can we pick this thing up and throw it away together? And that's been a great addition to my life, and that also gives me the opportunity to pour off into my marriage a little bit more, because I know that from my relationship with y'all, that I don't have to carry everything. I don't have to carry it all.
Let me speak to that, because first of all, when I first came into Christianity, I didn't even know what it was like to be a Christian man. I had nobody that modeled it for me. Yes, I'll tell you this: we went to church. I felt like we went to church out of obligation, not out of desire. And the first time that I stepped into a church, I was like, wow, this is different. And then I'm telling you, I see people gather and I flocked to that. I was kind of just listening into what they had to say. I was hungry at the time. I just wanted somebody to model it well for me. And I'll tell you, we came into the small group that we called Hebrew at the time. And it was like what it was like to be a Christian man, because I didn't have anybody to model it for me. But the more we surrounded ourselves with other men, we started seeing, we started picking up bits and pieces of what it's like to be a Christian man, right? Yeah. We had people that really modeled it well and were into their word, and that were willing to share their information, their success stories with other people, so that we could do it right. Yeah. You know what I mean? And this is what I'll tell you is that the world is kind of perverted the relationship with men, right? I'll tell you, we've been in enough men's small groups. Other people were there like, you know what? I didn't know that I could be this vulnerable with people, because I was always told I needed to man up. Yeah.
What does that mean?
I need to handle my business. Right. I can't show emotion or weakness, right? Come on. That's the world. And what I love about coming into this Christian walk is that it's quite the opposite. And there's this idea of an upside down kingdom. It's not like the world, right? Do not conform to the ways of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Romans 12:2, right? Yes. So we're transforming ourselves, being a different normal, right? And how I believe is that, these people, they would go over there and like, man, you know what? I see you guys and you guys leave each other and you're like, hey bro, you know what? Take it easy. Love you. He's like, I've never even been able to say I love you to my own brother. But for you guys to be able to communicate that to other people, be able to hug each other and stuff like that out of love, not perverse love, but love for each other, because you guys care for each other and you guys are brothers. These people would they would break down and were like, man, I have never been given permission to say that that's okay. Yeah. And I go, permission? Yeah, because you're looking at what the world considers to be this type of permission, right? And so if we're being real, part of that team aspect and being able to just come together is, on a team, you don't look at it like that. Everybody's there with the same goal in mind. Yeah. You're there to score, right? And in life, our goal together is to win, right? And I'm so happy that I actually get to do life with brothers, because I picture this. I have so many other friends that are at work that don't have God in their life, that don't have brothers that they can lean on, that are having to do it by themselves. I forgot what scripture that it was, but it says basically, like, you know what, it's poor for a person to be alone. Kind of along the same verses, I think it's shouldn't be alone, and that person that's having to do it alone, if he falls by himself. I forgot what scripture that is, but maybe they can reference it later on. But it is sad if you're having to do things by yourself. I'll tell you right now, my marriage is better. I'm a better husband. I'm a better friend. Hopefully I'm a better friend, right?
I'm not your friend.
Yeah.
I just want to say that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You're my brother.
Go ahead,
We're all
bro.
brothers. We're all brothers. So.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm just a better person when I'm having to do life with people.
Yes.
So I love the team concept.
Can I say, just you were speaking about failure, and I think it's a mindset shift, right? We grow up, and we're all taught, especially playing sports and being competitive. You're either a winner or a loser. You either won or you failed. And as we've gotten, we've grown and we've talked, and you start to learn failure is an opportunity for correction and for growth, right?
Yeah.
I used to wear a hat, and it had my favorite saying on it is, it said failing, how did it go? Growing in the art of failing forward.
Yeah.
I'll say it again. Growing in the art of failing forward. And it really is a mindset shift. Back in the day, you would fail at something. Oh, that's it. I'm a loser. I'm this. But now, you fail at something because we're human. It gives you a sense of, okay, well, what can I have corrected to do it better next time? What can I grow? How can I be stretched? So I think it really is it comes down to a mindset shift. Like, how do you see that failure? Doesn't mean you're not going to fail at something, but how do you see that? Just like, after football games, guys go in there and what do on Monday? They lick their wounds after a loss, but they watch the tape.
You gotta watch that film.
That's
They
good.
watch the tape.
That's good.
And they see what they could have done differently so that they don't make that mistake next time.
So that's how you change the word failure, because now it's actually a win.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because now you're winning, because now you have more information than what you did before that failure came. You know what I mean?
I'm glad we're talking about this word failure, because now I'm going to tie it into a relationship that I was in, that I allowed that word "but" to keep me in, and I needed to leave it. My first marriage, I stayed in it and stayed in the abuse that was happening in the marriage because I didn't want to feel like I failed. If I let the marriage go, this was my mindset. I failed and the devil won. And those were the two reasons why I stayed in that relationship as long as I did and continued to get hurt, because I looked at the word failure from a wrong standpoint, from the way that I was taught. And learning, in retrospect, learning that lots of people who are successful today, whether it's in relationships or whether it's in their spiritual, physical, emotional, mental lives, whatever, professional lives, the reason why they're successful is because they looked at failure from a different standpoint. They looked at failure as an opportunity, not that I'm worthless because I failed. And so I appreciate just being able to have that conversation about how we looked at failure before and how we looking at failure now. Because again, had I known that failure didn't mean that I was worthless, I would have been left in marriage. It was that abusive. So,
man, y'all just throw some good stuff out there. I'm just like, okay. So, our emotional intelligence, if we can all say we have grown in some capacity as men, right? How do you see yourself growing in your emotional intelligence in your relationship with your spouses?
I'll speak to that real quick. I was just thinking of something else as you guys were speaking about changing, and correcting. And I know humility plays a huge part in your growth. right?
Yes.
You stop being a victim, and you start being humble about what you did wrong. Kind of going back to the game film again. They look at the game film of what they did the previous day and see where they messed up and what they could have done better. Well, on the flip side, if me and my wife are having an argument or a heated discussion, I might say something, I might do something, act out. Humility is going to tell me the next day after I cool off, you know what, you were a little harsh there. You know what, you just reacted out of your old self, and you probably shouldn't have said it like that. And that's going to bring you back to the table to apologize. I'm sorry. The other way, just like a player who's big-headed comes in that game film or the film room and they're like, I did everything cool. It's them that did this wrong. And we do that with our wives sometimes. Nah, she did this, therefore I did this, and that's not how we should be. That's not going to do anything but separate even more and divide. So.
Yeah. But what about? Because you're talking about from an emotional standpoint. What about being able to have the courage to discuss with your wife? This is the emotion that I'm feeling right now.
Yes. Going back to the openness and communication.
Yes. This is the emotion that I'm feeling. It's not a healthy emotion.
No.
Maybe we probably should stop this conversation and we'll come back to it later, because this is the emotion that I'm feeling right now, and I don't want to act out on it because it's not, as a recovery coach, one of the posts that's put up on my page the other day was, if you have a problem and you go and drink, now you have two.
Yep.
So if you have a problem in your communication with your wife and you act out on that emotion, now you got two.
That's good.
Now you got two. And so how
digging deeper.
Yes, now you got two. And now you gotta you still gotta deal with the first one and fix that one. Now I gotta go fix it unnecessary.
You just peeled the onion. I don't want to stop you, but you peeled the onion on that, because I said, well, we can shift that into, especially in this talk that we have with men and just being real about something, because we can shift it into some other areas that vices that we have.
Yes.
Some of us dealing with some other area like porn or dealing with alcohol, drugs, whatever type of things that when we're not getting what we need from our spouse, or we're feeling that emotional growth is not happening, we'll turn to that other thing, and now we got more than just the problem with the spouse. Now you just added other issues there.
Just to tie in all those right there, it's good what you were saying. Like, you review your tape, right? Like, as far as emotional intelligence, if I have not grown from the last time that we've had an argument, I feel like that's my responsibility, and I kind of go back to the tape, and just to tie it back in with what you guys were saying. So I'm looking at my tape. I know I should have gone left when in that moment I had gone right, but instead, kind of like going to your addiction, the drink, the substance, whatever it is, right? Now you're not only not going in the right direction, but you're gonna force the wrong direction.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And you're gonna say, you know what? It's gonna work this way, and that's when you are shooting yourself in the foot twice. You know what I mean? And that's how I look at it. I have a responsibility to get better, because if, let's just say, I have an argument with anybody or a disagreement with anybody, if I don't get 1% better each and every single day, and I kind of review the tape and say to myself mentally, you know what, even going back to my wife and saying, you know what, I'm very sorry about this. I know I said this, and if I could redo it over again, this is what I would say instead. You know what I mean? And for me, that works because when I'm reviewing my tape and I'm going through it and I'm speaking life into it, you know what, this is what I should have said next time. So I'm actually speaking into existence what I would do better. So I tell myself, you know what, I shouldn't have raised my voice at that particular time. I was in my emotions. But the next time I review it, it's like, you know, and I realize that I didn't yell at times that I could have. I go, man, I'm getting better. And I think that's, and you know how you can look at failures, like you could say that it failed, but actually that's my marker. My marker for improvement, right? That's my litmus test. If I did it last time and I didn't improve on it, then then okay, I failed that particular time, right? Okay, it's fine, because I just need to get better than whatever I failed at. And then if I go through it and I say, hey, last time I failed, but this time I didn't raise my voice at all, then I could say, man, I made some improvements. And then that's where I get to gauge myself and say, you know what, I did good this time. Pat myself on the back and whatever. You know, be my own cheerleader, you know?
I love this conversation. This is so powerful. So we're talking about tapes. What if I look at the tape, see the error, but I don't change nothing.
Right?
I don't need, because you talked about humility.
That's a big
You talked about
challenge.
humility,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
My pride. I let pride, but pride stepped up and said, man, so what? You don't need to change nothing. She was wrong.
Yep.
So you've got
Oh, he was wrong.
so you've got the emotional without the intelligence.
Yeah.
A whole lot of
And that's
However, that's a reality though.
Yeah.
That is a reality. Trust me, I'm guilty. I know I've done it before
Yeah.
in situations in my life. You know, in my relationships with my significant other, or even with other men. I've done it knowing that I was looking at the tape, thinking, because God will rewind that tape for you and let you know what you did, or what you said, or what you didn't do, or what you didn't say. And then it was some situations where I said, yeah, God, I understand, but.
And that's such a great point too, because in hindsight's always 20/20, as they say, and in that heat of that emotional argument, you know, having the emotional intelligence, learning from these things is, you know, being able to stop ourselves in that moment and realize, like, after looking back, like, it's not so much the issue at the time or the problem, it's how we're responding to it.
Yes.
Knowing that we want to control, like, hey, my wife isn't responding the way I want her to be. It's like, it's not the problem. The problem is how I'm perceiving it.
Yeah.
The problem is me not
Yes.
like understanding this is who she is. I am not I'm not adjusting. I'm not you know, giving anything. I'm not giving any grace. I'm just wanting her to conform to how I want it to be. So understanding and just being able to take a step back and understand it from her perspective is able to help us compromise and get to that point to not react in a negative way. It's work in progress.
Amen.
Always.
I want to drop a nugget. We ain't got to answer this. I'm gonna drop a nugget and let's go to the next one. I was listening to another relationship coach, and she talked about one part of a couple came to her and told her about all the stuff that happened in the disagreement and argument with her husband, and how she reacted rather than responded. You know, because there's a difference. You get to react or respond. When we react, that means that we are going according to what's coming at us. When we respond, we get the opportunity to step back and pay attention to what's going on before I interject what I need to interject. And so here's the question that she asked the other person, because a lot of times when we go and tell our side of the story, we want somebody who will be telling them to agree with us. Right? Because what they did. So here's what she asked her. She said, so in this situation, which one of you showed up? Watch this. Was it the child, the adolescent, or the adult? I'm gonna leave that there. Go ahead.
That's really good.
I gotta ask that question when I'm dealing with clients.
That's a really good one, because we've learned in building strong bonds with each other. We've learned to gauge how we respond by reacting all the time. Now we talking about sports and everything. We react. We got pride, don't you? But we learn to respond to one another in whatever situation we're going through, and having to navigate that same thought process when dealing with your spouses. Do you react, or do you respond to situations that are presented with you? I know for a fact, for myself, I'm still yet working on that process, because there's so many times I initiate reacting with my words, even though my response is intended to be a whole other way.
Amen somewhere.
And I just want to reference this, you know, just to kind of help us navigate going forward with that. The scriptures talking about, when I was a child, I spake as a child. But when I became a man,
I put away childish
those childish things.
Right.
And so that's the difference. And when you talk about that reacting and responding, children react.
Yeah.
Because they get tantrums. They throw it, they fall out. But adults, men, dignity, with discipline, you learn to respond.
Yes.
You learn to respond to your spouse in a situation that come your way, even when you don't have no control over it.
What is it that they have, Rob? They have
Maturity.
Maturity.
So when it comes to another man, let's talk about guys, because we're talking about it from our wives, from the standpoint of our significant others. Let's talk about it with brothers, because the Bible talks about if you come to the altar and understand that your brother has offense against you, you're supposed to leave your gift at the altar and go and be reconciled.
Go get it right.
Right? They didn't say if you had offense against them. They said if they had offense against you. So there are times where I allow that word "but" to come in and have me to stand in offense against my fellow man, rather than having a conversation about whatever the disagreement it is that I might be having with that brother. How do we navigate that? And respond to that in a healthy way. If a brother has said something or done something that you don't agree with, that kind of rubs you in a way that's not comfortable or wrong, how do we have the mind to go and say, hey, bro, let's have a conversation?
Well,
Or-
mindset.
Yeah.
What's the 5-letter word that keeps you from doing that? Pride.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Your pride will be way too high,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that ain't my fault. You'll think of 1,000 reasons why it's not your
Yeah.
fault.
But
exactly.
and so.
But what do we try to teach our kids too? Is the bigger person does what?
We go ahead and talk about it.
A lot of times, the more mature person does what?
We're going to talk about it. Bring it up.
So by your
Yeah.
butt,
Yeah.
you're telling yourself you ain't mature enough to do that.
Exactly. That's why you need to kick your butt out.
Yep.
That's why you need to get rid of that butt. Because that butt stops so much.
Yeah.
A little bitty word kills a lot.
It limits us. Huh?
Hallelujah. Yes.
I want to say something about that. I think we have to give our brothers permission. What I like about what our pastor says is you got to find some people that are willing to offend you,
Yeah.
but you don't look at it as an offending standpoint. Like one thing I don't know why this pertains so much, but when you say I give people permission, like for every one of you guys, I tell you guys, you know what? I give you permission to speak to my life. If you see me doing something wrong, you better tell me. You know
Well, can I
mean?
do it right now?
Huh?
Can I do it right now?
You can do
You
it, but you
wearing that jersey.
you need to
Tell
change
me
it
right
now. No, but I think that's a big part of it though. Is that, you know what? If I'm willing to grow, then when I gotta abandon the things that I used to think were right, and be willing to be open to what other people have to say. You know what I mean? Because I know that whatever I say, it's not always going to be right. Like even when I tell my kids, I say, you know what? I'm going to tell you what I know, right? Because I want to give you wisdom. But you can accept it, you could deny it, or you can modify it and make it your own, right? Same thing with information that I receive from other brothers that are helping me to grow. It's either I'm going to accept it, or it's going to be like, nah, that doesn't work for me. Or I'm going to be like, you know what? I like that, but let me put a spin on it on myself. But this is what the biggest thing is, and we haven't talked about it just yet. We've mentioned it a couple of times, is that the biggest aspect of that team is having a coach that is willing to be able to look on the outside perspective, not on the field, but out of the field. You know what I mean? And I think the biggest coach that we have, and it comes from the playbook that we call the Bible.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And we know that we're all getting these, we're capturing all these scriptures and being able to use it in our everyday life. That's big. The other thing too is that if people are willing to speak into my life, I have to have the openness to be able.
Yes.
Like I need to be okay with that.
So you saying that you have to be coachable.
Yeah, coachable,
Yes.
teachable,
Because-
flexible.
Because there are times in this right here that sometimes he's my coach.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're my coach.
Yeah.
Sometimes you know what I mean. Sometimes I'm the player and you have to coach me.
Yeah.
You know, and vice versa.
Absolutely.
So and that's important in relationships too.
Yeah.
Like you was talking about, we have to know each other's strengths. We have to know our wins, right? Our whats, our whys. We have to know all of those kind of things, and all of those A lot of people don't know it or understand it, but all of those things constitute or creates healthy relationships.
Yeah.
And speaking about that, I just want to say, just like you were talking about, when we first met each other and got together, how much would you say you trusted each and every one of us, right? It's natural.
Look,
So that's where trust comes in.
Yes.
I still don't trust anyone.
Right. But my
No, you know why we don't trust you? Because you ain't cut your hair out yet.
you know what?
This is so you gotta know I hold on to things.
Hey, we almost made it all the way through. My point is, though, it takes some time.
Yeah.
And I think other men need to
Yes.
hear that.
Yeah.
It takes time to build trust.
Yeah.
And I have built that trust with all of you guys enough to know that you guys all want the best for my marriage. You want my marriage to work. You want my kids to be safe and healthy, and you want my career to thrive, right?
Yes.
And I want the exact same for you guys. And I think that's the difference with just men in the world is, you know, a lot of people in the world, they want yes men.
I got mine, you get yours.
Yeah. But they want yes men, right?
Yeah.
Or they don't want you to elevate.
No.
So therefore, they're going to bring you down. They're going to bring you to that old person
Keep
you
you
used to be.
keep you where you are.
Exactly. So that's what I mean. That difference in that brotherhood is just I know that my team wants the best for me, and there is such a security in that. There's a comfort in that. There's a man. I don't have to be at my best all the time. Exactly.
It was like me trying to explain that to a coworker when he brought up some health issues. And I try to explain, well, our Lord and Savior could change all things, you know what I mean, from night to day.
Yeah.
And he gave me a look like he didn't care what I was saying. But I said, I got to understand not everybody knows the Lord. You know what I mean? Not so, you know, so that's something he going to have to figure out on him. But, you know, I can only give you the tools that can get you where you need to be. You know what I
Amen to
mean?
that, brother.
So,
Amen to that.
Well, gentlemen, man, I'm so glad we had this conversation. We mean to do this one again.
We got it.
Absolutely.
It's obvious. It's obvious. We're gonna help you and get you another.
We'll do that for Super Bowl. I'll wear my Super Bowl shirt, and then we'll do it.
He can keep that jewelry. We got Sharon that silver to go.
Yes, that's right.
So I love the fact, and it was perfect, what you brought up toward the end, Reggie. We all got to remain coachable. As men, we got to remain coachable so that we can continue to navigate in our spiritual walk. And if you look at it at the same time, and you alluded to it a little bit, we got to remain coachable as husbands, so that way we can still be able to navigate with our spouses in the correct way.
That's right.
So with that being said, we thank y'all for coming and joining us for this conversation for the same team. Coach Paul, do you have any information you want to share with the general public on how they can learn a little bit more about what it is you do?
Well, I can tell you this. That word "but" has stopped us from so many things that we are capable of doing, because we were created in the image and in the likeness of God. So that and God blew the breath of life into us, and that means that we have greatness inside of us. Many of us don't exercise or walk into that greatness is because we allowing that word "but" to step in the way and kill us and kill everything that we created to be, or that we can become. And so my desire is to be able to assist us in removing that word, right? So that that greatness that God put inside of us can manifest itself. Because somebody said it like this: somebody needs you.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. If somebody wanted to find out more about what it is you do and the services you offer, how can they reach out? How can they find out more?
They can find out through my website, Maximum You Coaching. They can find out through my podcast, Kick Your Butt Out, exactly how it said, Kick Your Butt is in parentheses, in quotation marks.
Is that one T
and
or
out.
2 T?
One T, not 2 T's. We're going to get to the 2 T's. I got a podcast coming up with 2 T's. Trust me, you're going to love it. You're going to want to hear it. So yeah, you can locate me through Kick Your Butt Out podcast. It's on YouTube. I do advertisement on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. I would love to have people chime in, because again, that little bitty 3-letter word stops so much, and we want to move that out of the way so that the greatness can manifest itself.
Wonderful. And if you want to find out more about marriage and how you can enhance your marriage, Marriage Balls, My wife and I, we're a team together. We are on Facebook, we're on YouTube, Instagram. We do Tuesday Team Talks, as well as we have a channel, a YouTube channel. So whenever you have a chance, check it out. We got newsletters. And I believe you got some merch. We also have
Yes,
some
yes. I have t-shirts. I have t-shirts that says "Kick your butt out." You got a soccer guy kicking that soccer ball. That's what you need to do. Kick that ball out your life. And then I have another shirt that says "Move. I have greatness to do."
Yeah.
So when you move that butt, you better walk in that greatness. Hallelujah.
I'm going to, before we close out, our marriage, we always say on our thing, we're two hearts, one team, one purpose, because we look at it as a team concept. So with that, I want to go ahead and get ready to
Let
go ahead.
me say
Yes, sir.
this. If you're looking for a butt, it'll always be easy to find one.
There it is. One more time before we go. On three, same team. 1, 2, 3.
Same team.